Let's go in this.
It's 11 a.m. Let's go ahead with the public meeting. Let's start with the roll call. This is the meeting of the Nevada Commission on Ethics set for January 21st, 2026. Chair Scherer, I am here. Vice Chair Wallen.
Here.
Commissioner Langton.
Here.
Commissioner Lowry.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Moran. We don't have Commissioner Moran yet. Commissioner Reynolds.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Great, thank you. And staff, Executive Director Armstrong.
Here.
Commission Counsel Bassett.
Here.
Investigator Terry.
Here.
Acting Associate Counsel Hazlett.
Here.
Senior Legal Researcher Pani.
Here.
Outreach and Education Officer Harvey.
Here.
And Executive Assistant Saldana.
Here.
Please join me for the pledge of allegiance.
To the
Flag of the United
United
States.
States of America. And to the republic for which it stands.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Brings us to item 2 on our agenda, which is public comment. Executive Director Armstrong, have you received any public comment by email to be read into the record?
We have not received any written public comment to be read into the record.
Are there any members? There are no members of the public here. Executive Assistant Elsa Saldana. Are there any members of the public who are attending virtually who want to provide public comment?
Mildred Saldana, for the record, at this time, there is no one on Zoom that has advised that they'd like to provide public comment.
Thank you. Brings us to item 3, approval of the minutes of the November 12th, 2025 commission meeting.
Chair, I don't know if you're aware, but the video for the room is off, and it does look like Commissioner Moran is on now.
Great. Please show Commissioner Moran is present. And the video will fix that here shortly.
There we go.
Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that, but thank you for bringing that to our attention. So are there is there a motion to approve the minutes or any comments or questions on the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of November 12th, 2025.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 4, discussion and possible approval of order of dismissal following successful completion of stipulated deferral agreement regarding Kelvin Watson, Commission Opinion number 24-027C. Commission Counsel Bassett, please provide us with your presentation.
Of course, and I don't know, I think counsel for Mr. Watson may be present, Mr. Abbott. But Mr. Watson entered into a stipulated deferral agreement with the commission regarding case number 24-027C. There were 3 requirements, that he obtain training, that he not receive any further complaints that go to a review, go through a review panel for 1 year, and that he assist and have the blessing of the executive director on a new gift policy. All 3 of those requirements have been fulfilled by Mr. Watson. I've reviewed that compliance and I agree that he is in compliance. And so I suggest that the proposed order of dismissal be approved by the commission, dismissing the complaints.
Is Mr. Watson's counsel present?
Yes, I am. Scott Abbey for the record.
Mr. Abbott, did you have any other comments you'd like to make?
No, I've submitted the compliance report to the commission on his behalf and agree with what Commission Counsel just stated. We have on his behalf fulfilled all the terms of the stipulated deferral agreement.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have any questions or comments? Do we have a motion on this matter?
I move to approve an order of dismissal in ethics case number 24-027C regarding Kelvin Watson.
Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Mr. Langton seconds. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? That is approved unanimously. Item 5 is discussion and possible approval of proposed stipulated agreement concerning ethics complaint number 25-059C regarding Caroline Sexton, Chief Marketing Officer, Division of Tourism, State of Nevada. Myself and Commissioners Langton and Miller served on the review panel for this matter and were precluded from participating in any further proceedings pursuant to NRS 281A.2204. Vice Chair Wallen will therefore preside over this matter.
Thank you, Chair. We said we're discussing and possible approval of proposed stipulated agreement concerning ethics complaint number 25-059C regarding Carolyn Sexton, Chief Marketing Officer, Division of Tourism, State of Nevada. At this time, I would like to ask if there are any disclosures.
I have a disclosure before we move on with this case.
Please proceed.
Madam Vice Chair, the ethics law encourages disclosures even when remote interests are involved. And so I have a close personal friend named Cass Munoz. Ms. Munoz and I have almost daily contact. I vacation together with her and her husband and other friends, a movie group together, and we occasionally exchange gifts. I consider my friendship with Ms. Munoz to be substantially similar to a relative within the third degree of consanguinity, and therefore qualifying as a commitment in a private capacity pursuant to NRS 281A.0656. During the course of this matter, I learned that Ms. Munoz was paid by the third-party marketing firm for some modeling and social media work related to the Travel Nevada Deso project. She was not involved with the contract with the Argosy Bar or the kickoff event, which is central to this matter. She has no financial interest in the outcome of this matter, and the relationship was with Noble Studios, not directly with Travel Nevada, Deso, or the Argosy. And she has no direct or indirect stake in the outcome of this matter. Therefore, I do not believe I need to abstain from participation.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I would like to ask the counsel for the parties to introduce themselves.
For the record, Harry Ward, Deputy Attorney General, representing Ms. Carolyn Sexton.
And Executive Director Ross Armstrong, representing myself.
Thank you. Executive Director Armstrong, please give us your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. This case 25059C, involves Ms. Caroline Sexton, who was the Chief Marketing Officer for the Division of Tourism, also known as Travel Nevada. We received a complaint on May 27th, 2025, alleging violations of 281A.400 subsection 1 and 2. On July 8th, the Commission accepted jurisdiction and ordered an investigation of the matter. That order added for investigation potential violations of 281A.421. During the course of the investigation, we added some additional facts and issues, including 400 subsection 10 and 3. Ms. Sexton provided a response. She cooperated through the entire investigation, and the investigation revealed the facts as follows. While serving as the Chief Marketing Officer, Travel Nevada entered into collaboration with an apparel company, and as part of that collaboration, they're going to have a kickoff party. There was a third-party marketing firm helping to coordinate that party. Based on her position, she was involved in this planning and ensured that the individuals planning the party knew that her and her husband owned a mobile bar that could be a vendor for this particular party. Ms. Sexton, after making sure that folks knew that that was an availability, she went on leave and other people made the final decision, but her company was chosen as a vendor. There was no RFP process or anything like that. And so they provided services and made a profit from that party of $1,207.68. The investigation also revealed during the revealed that Ms. Sexton had discussed this issue with the chief executive officer of Travel Nevada, who determined there were no issues, like she was instructed that she could go ahead and have her bar be a vendor for this particular event, which was an incorrect interpretation of the ethics law. And so the review panel moved forward and referred this case, and we engaged in settlement discussions. In this matter, I'll say that Ms. Sexton was extremely cooperative throughout the process. We didn't even at this point need to go to a settlement conference. We were able to work it out once she received representation. And the results of that settlement discussion are here before you today. The agreement includes that her conduct will be considered a single violation of NRS 281A 400 subsection 10, which prohibits seeking or securing contracts for yourselves or an entity in which you have a commitment in a private capacity using your position. All other violations that were involved after the review panel are agreed to be dismissed. Based on the statutory factors in NRS 281-775, the parties agree that it is appropriate to consider the single violation a non-willful violation, in part because Sexton has not been previously the subject of any ethics law violation. She was diligent, as I said, in cooperating with the process. She saved us substantial resources in terms of adjudicating the case. She reached out, I'll say this, when she discovered there was an issue and it became clear that there was going to be an issue in the end, she reached out to the commission to schedule ethics training for her part of the Travel Nevada team, which is actually, I think, occurring next week. That was prior to any sort of settlement discussion. She reached out and was like, oh man, I do not know the ethics law. Like, we need to get this clear in our office. And she made that great proactive approach. She did receive that direct financial gain. Again, the profit realized from having the Argosy be a vendor for the project was $1,207.68. And an additional factor for me that made this seem like a clear non-willful violation, although only asking your agency attorney triggers the safe harbor provisions under the ethics law, Sexton relied on the advice of an experienced public official in proceeding with this matter. She also, again, did not make the final decision about who would be a vendor at the event, as she was on leave at the time. So once we got beyond panel, for me, this has been a non-willful violation from the start. Like, that was not a contentious part of any sort of negotiations. Like, for me, this conduct is exactly what the idea of a non-willful violation should be. As part of the non-willful violation, Sexton agrees to pay a civil penalty that equals the profit from the event, which again is that $1,207.68. And she'll pay that within 90 days of the approval of this agreement. Although Sexton has left public office, she agrees to complete ethics law training within 60 days. Those are the conditions. So one non-willful violation of 281A 400 subsection 10, the civil penalty of $1,207.68, and ethics training within 60 days, dismissal of all other allegations that would be on the review panel. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Fellow commissioners, any questions of the executive director on this matter? I just want to go and thank Ms. Sexton for working with staff to resolve this matter in the most efficient manner and stuff. And thank you to our counsel, Deputy Attorney General Ward. Appreciate your assistance as well. So thank you. With that being said, no other questions. I will entertain a motion for this matter. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Terry Reynolds, I will move to accept the terms of the proposed stipulated agreement and direct commission counsel to finalize the agreement in the appropriate legal form for the Sexton matter.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
For the record, Harry Ward, Deputy Attorney General. Thank you, Commissioners. I tender.
Thank you. All right, turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for that. Brings us to item number 6, report by Executive Director on agency status and operations. Executive Director Armstrong, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is a written report in your materials. So some quick highlights. We are fully staffed. One of the things we learned at the Kogel conference that was critical was to have an AI policy. And so after Kogel, we've done that and adopted an AI policy within our office. That sets forth prohibited uses of AI and allowable uses of AI and requirements for disclosure. And so we feel good about that. It's I will say on the artificial intelligence front, we have seen not as much as some other agencies that I've heard about, but we're seeing more public records requests come in that are clearly drafted by AI, as well as I think some complaints where you can kind of tell it looks like an AI drafted thing. Luckily, we're not being flooded. There's other agencies that are being flooded with those types of complaints they tend to be much longer than human written complaints and much more detailed, although you have to double check the accuracy of those details. Other operations highlights, we've had some office issues. We had a flooded office recently, and then our refrigerator went down. We've been working with buildings and grounds on both of those. We're also going through the internal controls process, so you may hear a lot from Elvira on some like inventory items, and we're just double checking everything so we know where all of the equipment is. The strategic plan continues to move forward. The case management RFP responses are in. I know that we have at least 15 proposals from companies to replace our case management system. And so we'll be moving forward with that process. And we'll be introducing the strategic plan. We'll be integrating the strategic plan into any budgetary or legislative asks for the 2027 session. Our legislative proposals are due to the governor's office in mid-March. So after our meeting in March, that's when we'll submit those to the governor's office for consideration. In terms of our budget, the kickoff for the new budget building cycle is scheduled for late February. That's typically a pretty big picture one. Those commissioners with state service experience probably know like the terms like, double cap, whatever percentage, items for special consideration. That's where we'll get all the instructions. So that'll happen in late February. So I anticipate at the March meeting some initial discussions about budget proposals. Staff are already kind of chewing on thoughts about where we may want to go with those. We've also received payments in a couple of complaint cases. We have started putting the recent review panel determinations in the executive director's report because you all vote on the jurisdictional determination, and then a group of 3 makes a determination on the panel. So we want to keep you informed about what's going on with those cases so you can see those there. I will make a couple of notes with regard to Mr. McIntosh. He accepted the deferral agreement that we offered, and he has completed all the compliance pieces that he needed to already. So he's just waiting for his deferral time to expire. And then we recently had a settlement conference with Mayor Whipple. And so you will expect to see that on the March commission agenda. And a thank you to Commissioner Smith, who served as the settlement commissioner on that one. Some upcoming meetings in February, we're going to have panels only. There's no commission meeting in February. March, I would prepare for a little bit longer meeting in March. We're going to have some motions in a contested case. We'll have our legislative items to finalize, and we'll also be talking about budget priorities. So when it comes to scheduling time, kind of schedule a bigger chunk of time for that March 18th meeting. And then in May, we anticipate a potential adjudicatory hearing, and in June, we'll be out in Elko. So we'll start working on those plans. Executive assistant Pedrosa did, or not Pedrosa, wow, Saldana. Did a great job of securing a location for us in Elko. So I think we'll be at the county commission chambers.
Yes.
And we'll work on the rest of the travel arrangements there. So that is my executive director's report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I don't have any today.
One note to upcoming meetings, as having listened to the discussion this morning, there will be a legislative subcommittee meeting also in February.
Yes, yeah, the legislative subcommittee will meet in February so that they are prepared to give you a good presentation at the full meeting in March.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Lowry?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Armstrong, was the AI policy included in our materials?
It is not. I can send that to you if you'd like to review that and take a look.
I'm just interested in the approach that you all, in terms of the attorneys, are going to use in your own production of legal documents, and how AI may or may not factor into what you produce.
Yeah, that's and I'm happy. Like I said, I'll send the policy. But as we looked at what other states are doing, what other agencies are doing with AI, it was clear to have a requirement of disclosure so that if there are attorneys in the office using AI as they present it to others in the office to disclose that, that all attorneys remain accountable for the work that is in what they're producing, that it's not like, oops, that was AI, it hallucinated a bunch of fake ethics cases. And then it has to be on an approved, if we're going to use it in the office, it has to be an approved AI platform. One of our biggest concerns for us is confidential information, right? We can't be feeding investigatory materials or complaint materials into a public open source, like a ChatGPT style AI for them to learn. Because as we learned in Google, other ethics agencies have had like their legal memos from their counsel that was partially written by AI show up when others search for that type of thing in AI. And so I would say our number one concern is protecting the confidential information of our complaints. And the second one is making sure if folks are using it, that they're disclosing AI was used to brainstorm or help draft. So the state, through its Microsoft 360 license, has a license for Gemini, whatever it's called, Gemini Chat, I think, which is their or no, it's Copilot. Sorry, Gemini is the other. So Copilot, and because it's on the state license, it's all kept within the state. Still not sufficient for our full confidentiality issues, but more secure than the public one. So really, except for maybe some research, there shouldn't be a whole lot of AI stuff prior to any sort of panel where things are confidential. And we've created essentially what is Appendix A of the policy that says here are the approved ones. So there's Copilot, and then there's some AI features in like Canva and some of those other ones that Sam might use for like image creation and that type of thing. So, but like I said, I'll send you that full policy, but those were some of our big concerns as we wrote the policy.
I'd like to get a copy of it as well.
Yeah, we'll send it to the full commission.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments on the executive director's report? Seeing none, that brings us to item 7, report on outreach and education. Outreach and Education Officer Harvey, would you please provide us with your presentation?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and hello, Commission. So beginning with outreach in the first section of my report, we started outreach to Nevada Ethics Online users, which is our on-demand ethics training platform for folks who had logged in but hadn't yet completed the training to make the most use of their, taking that spot in our platform. Additionally, Ross and I worked on outreach emails to remind folks of the acknowledgement deadline coming up, and you can see the list of recipients to those Correlation is not causation, but we've seen about a 49% increase in acknowledgement filings when I prepped this report compared to this same time period in 2024, considering it. They file on even years, so interesting to note that there. We also included language to encourage our public officers receiving that reminder, given that they're often in leadership positions, to encourage their teams to subscribe to our newsletter, just be attuned to ethics issues more broadly, which is great. On the education front, we wrapped up the rural tour, which I think it's helpful to note that I was and ended up seeing about 95 people throughout the course of the week. You can see the rest of our recent trainings fully written in the report, as well as some upcoming trainings Ross mentioned with our Division of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, as well as some others. I think more notably on January 28th, the governor's staff gets together as many members of boards and commissions across the state, and then Ross will be presenting there as well. All right, with regards to recent feedback on training, all very overwhelmingly positive. 98% are reporting that they agree or strongly agree that the training significantly improved their understanding of the law. 97% reported they agreed or strongly agreed that they've now felt confident accessing ethics resources following the training. Qualitatively, some written feedback for the live trainings was overwhelmingly positive, with most respondents suggesting no changes. Handful of folks asking for more details and examples. As time allows, we love that type of teaching method. Written feedback for our more on-demand training formats. So our Nevada Ethics Online, maybe folks are watching it on YouTube, or when other agencies are embedding our content into their training platforms, was also overwhelmingly positive. A handful of respondents requesting closed captioning, which is available in some and not in others, depending on technical limitations, and some technical friction points that we're working to consistently address. We took a look at this report at an analysis of the numbers in terms of where we are compared to prior years and what may be contributing to some of the boosts we've seen in training numbers. So if we look at our fiscal year 25, we saw the highest training numbers that we'd ever seen by a significant margin. And so we took a look at where that might have come from. And it seems that one agency was required to train their staff. We mentioned the library district, and that contributed about approximately 25% of everybody trained in the state in the last fiscal year. So it's a pretty significant increase just as a result of that agreement and in compliance with it. Additionally, we established an agency-wide training partnership with another agency that contributed another 17% there. So it's interesting to know that without those two agency-wide partnerships, the total would have been approximately 1,700, which is still an increase from prior years, but not as substantive. It was a slightly more moderate increase. Additionally, every other year, we typically provide training to civil and public attorneys conference. So we did that in fiscal year 25 as well as fiscal year 23. If we look at what contributed to those higher numbers in fiscal year 23, we saw that there was two agencies previously trained by the commission. They actually coordinated a couple 2-day training sessions, interestingly, that were significantly larger than prior years. And that in addition to that seems to have likely contributed, another 180 people. As I mentioned, civil and public attorneys was that year as well, which is around 200 to 250 attendees. So in fiscal year 23, without those large scale trainings, we're looking at about 1,250 attendees, which is very similar to the prior and surrounding years. So we want to take that into mind as we're planning for the rest of the year for fiscal year 26. And as we mentioned, doing that direct outreach to Nevada Ethics Online users to boost the utilization of that platform for folks who have logged in but not yet, finished all of the necessary lessons to that piece, so we can count them as trained, has been really helpful, and we'll continue to work on that. And working on expanding additional training partnerships. We have one scheduled to begin in this quarter. For about 400 to 50 staff. So hopefully that will help as well as additional training partnerships we're looking to explore for the remaining of the year. All right, next, moving on to publications. We finalized the annual report, taking into consideration adjustments, edits, and prepared it for the website publication. And when we're beginning social media outreach as well on that too. We have an upcoming article detailing the intricacies of our complaint process in the Senior Res Q magazine. There's a magazine publicized for seniors in Nevada. And then our next issue of the newsletter is scheduled to go out later this month. I included just a visual of our last issue to give a sense of what that typically entails. All right, so if we're looking moving on to public records requests for information, things of that nature. By this time last year, with regards to volume, the total number of requests during fiscal year 25 for public records was 18 requests. So we're seeing about a 50% increase in public records requests this fiscal year so far. And then with regards to requests for information, I mentioned in the in our report, but that's something we're now tracking and previously hadn't tracked for all staff. So that's an improvement to our tracking metrics for this fiscal year as well. It's interesting to note that of the 18 press inquiries that we've had this year, fiscal year so far, that is 8 members of the press. So there's a fairly small group, even smaller for the folks who are submitting repetitive requests, who are looking at publishing stories or getting information about the commission, which helps in terms of, has its pros and cons, but helps in terms of them having a more intricate awareness of our statute as well when they're writing stories about our cases. Finally, with public records requests, we've seen fairly similar breakdown in percentages in terms of, 70% of the time we've been able to provide records and 24% of the time we've not had records to provide. The other missing parts there are things in progress, which is fairly just one case and one case where we asked for clarifying information. They didn't get back to us. So we're at a total of 180 if you combine those requests from the public, the press, and public records requests so far. And that concludes my report. Happy to take any questions or clarifications.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
I just have 2 questions. One, how is it that you got an article in the senior magazine? How did that come to be?
Yeah, it seems like they were following one of our cases. They were somewhat invested in it, I believe, and were interested in sharing information about the complaint process to their viewership. So they reached out to us, which I love. So
that's great. And then why do you think we're getting more public records requests?
Great question. I think there's something to say about the types of cases that we're addressing and the amount that they've been in the media, or the high profile nature of some of those requests, right? Yeah, I think that definitely contributes to it to a certain extent. It's part of me is surprised because we're not getting as many from a certain individual in terms of please send us this one acknowledgement form for this one person because I'm upset with them requests. They seem to have taken focus elsewhere. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to look at. It is very case focused. I have a look at the breakdown, right? Like our public records, 29 of those are cases and 5 are other miscellaneous requests.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Questions or comments? So the public lawyers section of the State Bar of Nevada does the Government Civil Attorneys Conference.
Yes, they do. This is Executive Director Armstrong for the record, and they typically have us present ethics every other year.
Okay.
We have Sam was our initial person to do this last year, but the last 2 years we've also tabled the event. So there's resources, they can sign up for their agency for training, that type of thing. So we go to that event every year. But they only have us teach ethics every other year.
Do they do any kind of publications?
They do a very periodic, like they will do an email blast if you ask them to do on a certain topic. And so I will say, Sam highlighted it in there. in their report under outreach, when it came time for the ethics form to be due. The last time we had this deadline, I think I hit just the Association of Counties, the League of Cities and Municipalities, and the Governor's Office. And this year we added NSHE, and we also added that public lawyers section. And so they sent that out, and that particular email generated more questions and people filling out forms than I think we've seen before, and people trying to get clear, because we have a whole flow chart on our resources page. It's very confusing. It can be confusing. And I'll say, we saw an increase in the number of filings. I'm not gonna put a percentage on it because it would just be wild, but like, we got a lot of stuff from people who didn't need to submit one because they have defined terms, but at least they were like, oh man, I need to, they may not have filled it out when they were supposed to, and so now they're catch up. But that email to that public lawyers section generated the most calls to the office and emails, and I know that the governor's one got to all the directors because I got lots of like Teams messages for clarification and that type of stuff. So they don't have a newsletter that goes out right.
Do they take over one of the takeovers, probably the wrong phrase, but one of the issues of Nevada lawyer every year? I seem to remember there's been a public law issue of the Nevada lawyer.
Yeah, they did one last year because we had the article about our 50th in it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do that every year.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that might be something where we can try to put an article in
Yeah,
on a topic of interest when they're
yeah, it's a good idea.
generally emphasizing public law in the first place. Any other questions or comments before we move to the next item?
Just a related comment. There's a September 2026 issue for the Nevada lawyer that you just mentioned, on ethics. And if an article deadline is June 19th. So just figured I'd mention that if there's interest
Thank you.
in that.
Thank you very much. All right, that brings us to item number 8, which is an update from the Commission's Legislative Committee on progress toward a recommendation for the full commission. Vice Chair Wallen.
All right, thank you. We met today. We had another very productive meeting. We've pretty much narrowed it down to 6 items. We decided today that we're only going to submit one bill rather than break it up, because things can happen when you break things up. And some of you might be thinking, oh man, 6 items, that seems like an awful lot to submit in a bill. But our last one had something like 35 items. So this is a lot better and more focused. So our top 6 items that we're going to be focusing on is 1, mandatory training for all public officers, and it's to be done on or before the 30th day following the date on which they take office. Okay, they have to complete an ethics training course and acknowledge that they have read and understands the ethical standards, and this kind of coordinates with the acknowledgement form that we have here. The next item is we are focusing on unwarranted harm. This is in essence where a public employee shall not use the public's office or employee's position in power in government to take any actions or compel a subordinate to take any actions that would cause unwarranted harm or damage to another person to benefit a significant personal or pecuniary interests of the public officer or employee, or any person to whom the public officer or employee has a commitment in private capacity. And as used in the section, unwarranted means without justification or adequate reason. We also have a section, appearance of impropriety. Our definition means a reasonable person would find, based on the given set of facts and circumstances, that a public officer's or public employee's limited use of government property, equipment, or other faculty for personal purpose is inappropriate, disproportionate, excessive, or unreasonable under that given set of facts and circumstance. Another area which is brand new in our laws here is gifts. I'm not going to go through a whole bunch of it. because it's quite broad and extensive. We had a long discussion on gifts because in our statute, we really don't say anything about gifts. We just say you shouldn't be accepting gifts, basically. And so in this one, we actually kind of clarified it, especially under situations where somebody might accept tickets to a sporting event or something like that, that we put in here that it should be, it's not considered to be a gift if the public officers or public employees' attendance is clearly for ceremonial purposes. The other clause, to the extent to which the attendance offered to the public officer or employee is broadly available to the public and media in duration and scope. That the event primarily provides educational information clearly related to the public officers or employees' public duties. The value of the gift. And then the other is the ability of the public officer or employee to make official decisions regarding the individual or entity providing the gift. So that one that is there that, okay, somebody's going to give you a gift and you're going to go, and like a case we had with the energy person where they went to the Knights game and they were going to go and do a sponsorship. So that's why we kind of put that in there, because that's not really good. We're actually going to go at our next meeting on February 26th. Executive director is going to come back with some factors that we're going to put in there. And we're also going to get a better definition of soliciting a gift, okay? I'll say. The next one is cooling off. The one big change that we've made here, recommending, is if the public officer or employee leaves the service of the agency, they shall not, for 1 year after leaving the service of the agency, represent or counsel for compensation a private person upon any issue before the agency, period. And this is only under 410, all right? This is for 410. So there was some questions and confusion here today. And the clarification is, what we're saying is, say you work for the city of Reno, you're a city manager, you go off and you work at some law firm, and then you come back and you're representing this law firm to talk about data centers, even though that issue wasn't up before the city. So we just said, you just can't go back and lobby the entity that you worked for a year. You can go to work for anyone. You know, we're not defining who you can go to work for. We're not saying, oh, you can't go to work for anyone who had any business dealings with that vendor, with the city or county or whatever. So this is just dealing with lobbying and representing, going back, representing the new firm that you went to. The other one we have is confidentiality. We've kind of expanded it to, right now we have confidentiality. If you file a complaint and you work for that agency or entity, we can grant you confidentiality, but we have also added that if you've worked at the same public body, agency, or employer as a public officer or employee at the time of the alleged misconduct. So if you were working at an agency, you left there, and then you filed a complaint against that agency, you're granted that confidentiality. And then we also added one in here that we may keep the identity of the requester confidential if he or she offers sufficient facts and circumstances showing a reasonable likelihood that disclosure of his or her identity would result in substantial economic harm to the requester or his or her household. And what that's for is, we've got some small communities and stuff, and say a business owner sees some things that aren't quite right with a county commission or city council, but they're afraid to file a complaint because there's no confidentiality. They're afraid that that might impact their business. So we can, in certain circumstances, then go and grant that confidentiality there. So those were the main ones. So I will, my fellow commissioners on the Subcommittee, if you want to add anything to that, please do. No? Okay. All right. Oh, Commissioner Miller?
Nope, I think you covered it well.
Thank you. All right. So questions?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
This is Michael Langton. I have a question. Has it already been drafted or
No.
will it be drafted?
So what you're going to see, all right, and the way the process is, what you're going to see is it's kind of like, here's the concepts, all right? And then we submit, after the full commission votes on our concepts, okay? Then our executive director then submits it to the governor's office. And then through LCB, they then go and put in all the fancy words and all the extra stuff.
So as people, commissioners not on that subcommittee, we will have some input on it.
You can talk about it right now.
It'll also
Well,
be,
I
No,
don't-
also
I
be-
don't have it here in
Oh,
front of
okay,
me.
okay.
yeah, it'll be submitted to us at the March meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll have an opportunity to vote on it at the March
And-
meeting. But again, if you want to weigh in sooner, then get with Ross and talk to him about
Well,
it.
Yeah, well, I would, if you look in the public meeting materials for today's legislative committee meeting, you can see my version of the initial draft language. We can also send that out to everybody, and then let me know. I do my best attempt at drafting, and then the LCB likes to just fiddle with it a little bit. And then, we could always be submitted to the governor, and the governor says like, we're not gonna go forward on any of these, or we're approving 2 of these to go forward, so. But at that March meeting, you'll have what we believe the language would be as a proposal.
Okay.
and I would like for commission council before our next legislative subcommittee meeting to go, and I believe that commissioners can attend that as public members. They can't participate and they can give public comment when we ask, after we talk about it. So I want you to double check, because I believe when we did this before, we did allow commissioners to sit in. Okay, so if you guys want to learn more and get more detail before our March meeting, when we're going to vote on this as a full commission, I would encourage you to attend via Zoom our legislative subcommittee meeting, so you can see what's going on, and then when we get public comment, then you can give public comment. Because what's gonna happen is in March, we only have like 2 days. So at our March meeting, we have 2 days after we approve this to get it to the governor's office. And so what the
I
product
mean,
that we.
LCB or governor's.
Governor's office.
Goes to the
We go-
governor's office
yeah,
first.
Goes to the governor's office first. Yeah, the commission does not get to submit their own BDRs. We have to go through the governor's office, or if we get a legislator who wants to sponsor. But I don't think we've ever had that before,
No,
that I can recall. So the process, like I said, the process is gonna be is when we do the vote in March, we're not gonna be wordsmithing and things like that. Basically, it's gonna be, here are the 6 concepts that we're bringing forward. Do you agree with these concepts or not? Should we not bring this concept forward? And then that's how we vote it out. Okay, but the February meeting, I encourage you to attend that, so that way you can give feedback and, ask some questions.
I tried to attend it this morning.
I know, but yeah, so that's why I want our commission council to clarify, because I do believe that you can attend it as a public member,
Thank you.
okay? So,
Yeah, and I'll apologize, 'cause I did attend, and I think the reason Mr. Langton was not allowed to attend was there was concern that we would then have a quorum of the full commission, since I was already sitting in. And I apologize for that. I didn't realize until afterwards that was the reason you were.
Well, I just think as a commissioner, even though we don't vote, we should be able to listen.
I agree.
yes,
In fact, I would encourage, as Vice Chair Wallen did, encourage all commissioners to get up to speed on this, because we're not gonna have much time. So if you disagree or you have alternatives that you think should be considered, I'd like to have that feedback earlier in the process than later if possible.
Thank you.
And I did, after listening, offer a couple of items during public comment with regard to confidentiality. I'm not concerned about expanding confidentiality for the requesters, but I am concerned about expanding confidentiality, or actually I'd like to reduce confidentiality and increase transparency for the subject of the complaint so that they have more information about what the accusations against them are, and what some of the evidence against them might be, so that they have an opportunity to prepare for and respond to that, without divulging necessarily the identity of the requester.
Aren't they given a redacted copy of the complaint? The subject?
The subjects receive a copy of the complaint and
Right.
all materials that you receive to make your jurisdictional determination.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know.
But not the investigation.
But if there's additional things that document, I mean, frankly, the majority of documents that we might get after jurisdiction and before review panel come from the subject. But that's something we can look at for sure.
I just know that was one of the complaints from one of the council in one of the earlier cases we had. So just want to look at it and consider it and determine whether there's an ability to effectively take that argument away from them. And so give them a fair chance to see what's out there and respond to it appropriately.
Yeah.
So that they don't have the complaint that they were sandbagged or didn't have an adequate opportunity to prepare their defense.
Yeah, and and we talked about it today. We said, all right, it is going to cause the legislature to have issues with these items, and the only one that could be anything we think would be the mandatory training, because they might be able to attach fiscal notes on that, but you can do the training online, and we're only talking about public officers. We're not doing mandatory training for every single public employee in the state. So I think that will kind of mitigate that. I don't see any issues with the things coming up here, but you never know.
And I will just comment, this is Executive Director Armstrong, I will comment that some of those things, like the appearance of impropriety definition and the unwarranted harm, have previously passed through the process without issues. Where we get hung up is the legislative approach to their own ethics. And so Curtis and I did have a meeting last week when we were in Las Vegas with the chair of the interim committee to hopefully get those issues addressed during the interim so they don't become an anchor on whatever bill we.
And the only other comment I offer, just so the other members are aware, is that with the 30-day requirement to have training, the legislature might object to that because they already do training, but they do it during orientation in January. And under our Nevada Constitution, legislators take office as soon as they're elected. So that they might want a longer time period, and obviously to have their own training count as the mandatory training.
And that's it. So questions from other commissioners? Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. That will bring us to commissioner comments. Item number 9. Do we have any general commissioner comments about any items or any issues that the commission should consider?
I would like to go in the future. I would like to see us put in a policy that when you are on Zoom, that you have to be on camera, and that when we take votes, that you have to unmute to vote. Because I see sometimes people, they never vote, or they might not even be on camera. So I mean, and you got to participate. So I would like to see us bring forward a policy about that.
We put that on the agenda for our March meeting.
Yeah.
Consider. And obviously, if anyone has any comments about that now, feel free to make them. Commissioner Lowry?
Thank you, Chair. I would just add to that, we had a case that involved our having to review a video of a small board's meeting, and it became very difficult to determine who voted, And so I think in terms of Vice Chair Wallen's suggestion, I think that also just helps us in terms of the clarity of our own voting records and the reliability of our own minutes.
Any other questions or comments, either on that topic or any other topics? As I said, we'll have Executive Director Armstrong put that on the agenda for the next meeting so that it
Good.
have the ability under the open meeting law to act on adopting the policy if that's the pleasure of the commission. Mr. Reynolds, did you have comments?
Well, I would agree with that. And I think it's important. I concur with Commissioner Lowry on it. I think it's important that we have that it's distinct in terms of who's voting and how the votes go when you're on Zoom, because it can be very confusing. We don't want to say, come back and say, well, I didn't vote that way. So it needs to be distinct and on the record.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, we'll move on to item number 10, which is public comment. Executive Director Armstrong, have you received any public comment by email being read into the record while we've been in this meeting?
We have not.
And there are no members of the public here in Reno. Are there any attending virtually who would like to provide public comment?
Elvira Saldana, for the record, at this time, there are no members of the public on Zoom.
With that, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Wallen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Langton. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
I
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. We'll see you in March.